Welcome back everyone, Mariah Monetize here. In today's video we're going over the price of Bitcoin. It has been a minute, so I'm going to be giving you a price update. Let's also go over Ethereum while we're at it, because like I have said in many of my previous videos, Ethereum tends to lead the way from time to time, and that's why it's always important to take a look at both. So we're going to be going over Bitcoin, Ethereum, and if you've been watching all of my videos, you know that I sold off a chunk of my Bitcoin at the $97,000 range, and I'm going to be going over whether I have purchased that back yet or not. So I think it's already been maybe close to 2 months or so that I sold off some Bitcoin and have been looking to buy back. And what I would have done in a previous life was I would have FOMO'd back in, but thank God I have learned some lessons and I do not do that anymore. There was a period of time where I was trying to do more swing positions long term, whether that was even several months before I entered back into the position. And what I tended to learn was my game plan was great. I just wasn't waiting long enough for it to play out correctly. So here is what I'm mostly focusing on when it comes to Bitcoin. This is going to be your 4-hour chart. This is just a very simple trend line, okay? I drew this trend line a couple of days ago once we saw this point come in and this point as well, okay? So I kind of typically look for at least the 4-hour time frame, 2 touch points, and then go from there. As you could see, as the days went on, the trend line was respected once again here, and it was also respected a bit earlier today. So this is a trend line after that 3rd touch point that I really like, and I am going to continue following it. So what can we expect next? Let's go ahead and zoom out to the daily chart on Bitcoin, but I'm pretty much going to be using, when it comes to that trend line, that particular 4-hour time frame for the most guidance. So this right here is the daily chart. I don't really like how this daily chart is looking. It's looking rather weak. We are below these 2 moving averages here, and so let's see if Bitcoin, it has a few lines in the sand. First, we're probably going to see about 95.5. If it breaks below 95.5, then we will likely see about 94, just under 94,000. And then let's see if Bitcoin comes and retests that same range that it has hit so many times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Will Bitcoin be held up the 9th time at the about $91,500 range? Time will tell, but I'm actually just more focused on one thing. I feel like we're in the territory of Bitcoin can have a massive breakout at any moment, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look here at the 12-hour. Obviously the 12-hour looking weak, so none of these time frames are looking strong on Bitcoin, but the 4-hour is what I am going to be paying attention to. Okay, what I am mostly focused on is Bitcoin closing above, oops, let me go ahead and undo that. Bitcoin closing above this trend line, okay? So what I want to see is a 4-hour candle close above that time frame as, okay, I'm going to go ahead and start looking a little bit deeper, paying a bit more attention here. And then probably not the first 4-hour, it's probably not going to be the first 4-hour candle that closes above, but probably the second that I'm going to be more likely to enter on, right? It also depends whether I'm sleeping or not. You know, I like my sleep. I don't really set alarms in the middle of the night to be waking up. And of course, I still have a bunch of buy orders for Bitcoin in the mid $80,000 range. So that's what I'm mostly looking for, a 4-hour candle close above this particular trend line. So a few things, we have that, and then as you can see here, we also have these moving averages that are coming in close, okay? That could also be as a second point of resistance for the price of Bitcoin. Let's take a look at the hourly. As you can see here, this has been, just look left, right? This candle was held up here. This touch point has already happened, has been touched 3 times. In the last just 2 days alone, as you could see, it was also held up here. Back on February 2nd, this right here, February 5th, February 4th. So almost every day that has become a point of support at some point. So let's go take a look at the 30 minute. Yes, 30 minutes still looking weak. So 4 hour is where I'm looking. All of my attention is focused on the 4 hour, this trend line, and closing above the trend line. That's simply all I'm looking at. It's not difficult. As you can see, the trend lines, which I typically do not trade, but I've just been drawing trend lines for the last like maybe 4 to 6 months on my charts. I haven't really traded them yet. It's more of I've just been drawing them, practicing drawing them, and kind of just looking back to see if they would have played out correctly. So, like for example, you could see I drew this trend line here. This was back in November. If I would have entered, went short on that break below, we went from 96 all the way down to like 90,000, okay? These are very simple, clear trend lines. The more touch points they are, the more significant they become. This was a trend line down, broke above. So what I'm talking about here is, this is what I'm talking about the close. This candle right here is a close above the trend line. Okay, so what I'm saying is I might not necessarily enter on the first 4 hour candle that closes above, but probably more likely to be the next after. I want a little bit more confirmation. As you can see, this was a trend line to the upside. It touched here, it touched here, it touched here, it touched here. That made it a very, very strong trend line. As you can see, this was right here, the close below that trend line, which would have been a great point to enter, or even the candle after. And you're talking about going short, around 103, 104, and Bitcoin pulling back all the way down to 91. Okay, so we see trend lines in both directions, right? Now we're drawing downward trend lines, seeing if it could break. In this case, it closed above. This would have been a candle I would have hesitated to enter on, okay? But as you can see, it continued to go below. And that's why I am possibly not going to enter on the first candle that closes above the trend line. Look at this beautiful trend line. Look at all these touch points. All right, you're entering in this range of it closing below, and you have plenty of more room to the downside after that. So Bitcoin tends to respect these trend lines, especially on the 4 hour. One of the easiest things to trade, one of the easiest things to see, right? There's no trend here. There's no trade. There's no trade in the trend. So that's what I'm paying attention to. Let's see. I also wanted to show you guys something that I noticed on the chart. I think I was looking at it yesterday. Okay. Let me go ahead and put up side by side 2 charts. Okay. Look at the structure here. I need to change this to... For some reason, I don't know how to get it to be the same indicators. But something to also pay attention to, which I haven't brought up in a while because I took it off my chart to prioritize other indicators, is this over here. This is a 7-day chart on Bitcoin. If this green crosses below this red, oh boy, we are in for a shitstorm. We are headed back to probably $74,000 if this green crosses below this red, okay? And let's see, let me go ahead and tell you if you want to add these to your chart, which I used to talk about these moving averages a lot, but it's been a while. I think it's a 7 and a 12. Gosh. Why can't I? Okay, there we go. EMA's 12. The red one is a 12. And this green one, I believe, is a 7. No, it's a 5. The 5 and the 12. 5 and the 12. 5 and 12 EMA. Okay, so what I want to do is see how we're trading in this kind of zone right here. I was reflecting back on it was a previous cycle on Bitcoin, and it just kind of reminded me a lot of that same period of time that we need a daily, not a weekly chart. So let me go ahead and back up here. All right, back to 21. This kind of reminded me of this. Although this is more of Bitcoin making higher highs, higher lows. This is a bit more of Bitcoin trading in a range. But this was kind of giving me a little bit of this, okay? And what happened after that? Nothing good. Bitcoin went from a high of 64 down to 27. So just wanted to draw that quick correlation so that you can be aware of that. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum. And we're only looking at Ethereum because of the simple fact that from time to time, Ethereum leads the way and gives us signs of what Bitcoin is going to do next. Let's see, let's go and take a look at the 7-day. Interesting. So the green is already crossed below the red on this chart. Although I have backtested Ethereum with this particular theory, and it's not as accurate as Bitcoin. But let's go ahead and just focus on what we see here on Ethereum. Ethereum looking very weak on the weekly. I do not really like how it looks here. Let's take a look on the daily here. Also rather weak. Let's go and see if we can find a trend line. So the reason why is I don't trade Ethereum. I mostly just trade Bitcoin. I just hold Ethereum, which more and more I have been considering selling all of my Ethereum and just buying Bitcoin. Maybe at the peak of the next market, what I think was the peak, I sell all my Ethereum, wait for the end of the Bitcoin bear market to play out, and then buy all back in. Just a thought, haven't confirmed doing it yet. So obviously I just drew a very simple trend line here that is actually stronger, in my opinion, than the Bitcoin one. Why? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touch points. Back over here on, let's see, wait, did I just draw that on the, this is actually the daily chart. Oh wow, okay. This is the daily chart on Ethereum, quite the trend line. We're gonna be keeping a very close eye there. As you can see on the daily, Bitcoin is much stronger, and I'm not really able to draw as strong of a downward trend with as many touch points. So back over to Ethereum. Keep on getting a little bit distracted. So that's a 12. Let's see the 12 hour here. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is, let's see if I can draw another trend line within Ethereum on the 4 hour. So I'm going to be paying very close attention also to this trend line on Ethereum, because it could potentially break before Bitcoin does. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye there. I'm trying to see here if I can draw some sort of a trend line. See, I'm going to draw this trend line. It's just an okay trend line in my opinion, because we only really have 2 touch points, but it is the 4 hour, okay? So that daily downtrend on Ethereum, very, very strong, mini touch points. This right here is the 4 hour on Ethereum. We only have 2 touch points versus, like I've already showed you, the 4 hour on Bitcoin, we have 1, 2, I would say that's a 3, 4 touch points. So, I mean, 1 extra touch point. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 1 hour. So yeah, basically this is what I'm paying attention to. I'm not trading Ethereum, but I'm looking at it always because it tends to lead the way. What is very strong is going to be this daily chart on Ethereum and this downtrend. Going to be paying very close attention there. Also, this 4 hour that I just drew, not as strong as the trend line, like I said, only 2 touch points, but going to be keeping a very close eye there as well. And so Bitcoin, all eyes focused on the 4 hour trend line. That's what I'm focusing on. So there is a possibility that, okay, so let's say for example, Bitcoin runs up, it closes above the trend line at like $99,000, okay? This is the thing, is that yes, that is at a higher point than what I sold at, not by much, by a very small percentage that I'm okay with losing because of the risk that I took on. I'm okay with losing that amount. And the upside is definitely greater than just staying out of the position completely. But like I said, I am staying extremely, extremely patient. Altcoins have been performing like absolute dog shit. I am so glad that I sold, I mean, I guess you could say Ethereum is an altcoin, but pretty much all of my altcoins several years ago to become mostly a Bitcoin maxi for the most part. So, XRP at 232, like people always ask me about XRP. Listen, guys, it's really, really, really simple. Yeah, this chart looks great, right? But the amount of value that XRP has lost against Bitcoin is embarrassing. And this chart doesn't even show all of XRP. I need a different chart because this one right here. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. This is XRP's high in 2018. It still has, it just double topped at that level. And it has taken how many years versus Bitcoin ripping through its previous all-time highs? So very simple. This is not complicated. My approach here, patiently waiting here. We have Bitcoin sitting at 96.5. If you guys want, I can go in on some lower level time frames. How about that 5 minute? What I don't like about these Fibonacci retracement levels is that when I'm looking at the charts on my phone, it's really easy for me to move them around. But what I'll do is while I'm on this video, I'm gonna go ahead and redraw. Okay, so 5 minute looking weak. We're gonna go ahead and retest this very major level here. So if we break below it, we kind of have another little point here at the low $96,000 range. And then if we break that, then we're going down to 95.5. Yeah, Bitcoin looking incredibly, incredibly weak. It's going to be interesting. I believe it's 4 o'clock Puerto Rico time. We have just under 2 hours to go until the Asian markets open. So not really much more to say here on this video. I told you my game plan. I encourage you to draw that very simple trend line. And if it breaks above, closes above on the 4 hour, I will consider re-entering. That's all that I have for you today. As always, go out there and create a portfolio that you love.